Alright guys, it's been 2 weeks and you know what that means. Another Sailor Moon Crystal review comparison thingy video. The story for episode 4 goes as such. Princess D from the Kingdom of D... No. That can't be the name they actually went with, no. That could not have been in the actual manga. That's... It is. Princess D. Really? From the Kingdom of D. Are you sure you guys want to call it the Kingdom of D? Is it governed by some sort of penile parliament? Does her castle oversee a cock courtyard? Does it possibly have a phallic foyer? Possibly some two-message troubadours? Or possibly some... dick... cock... dick... cock... Ah, fuck, I ran out of penis jokes. Ran that well dry sooner than I thought I was going to. So anyhow, Princess D, from the Kingdom of D, comes into town to display her legendary crystal treasure thing. Both our Sailor Guardians and our villains are like, oh, that must be the Silver Crystal. Our good guys and bad guys fight, our good guys win, the bad guys lose, and we find out that Princess D does not have the Silver Crystal. This episode is a pretty straight translation of the manga, though it is not without its changes. The biggest one is Jedi is still alive. In the review for the last episode, I said I wasn't sure what they were doing with Jedi, if he survived or not. They kind of kept it a little vague. But it most certainly looked like he had made it out of there. And it turns out, yes, he did. And even though Jedi is still alive, it didn't really have an impact on the episode overall. Nephrite was the villain from the manga chapter, and once again, he is the villain for this episode. So yeah, Jedi is now alive, and I have no clue what their overall plan is going to be here, considering every episode so far has been a straight adaptation of chapters from the manga. So I doubt they're actually going to throw any filler in to, expand these characters any further than they have. Another scene with some major changes was the arcade scene. Specifically, all the parts with Sailor Mercury and Sailor Mars just kind of hanging out there talking, playing video games, that was all added and was never in the manga. I normally don't really say anything about the filler scenes because they're just kind of there to pad out the episode, but this one actually is changing things from the manga. The thing that is changing is the characterization of Sailor Mars. In the manga, she's depicted as having a bit of an attitude, like she really doesn't want to be a guardian, she didn't really want to go to the party, she demands answers, she really puts her foot down and shows some attitude and is closer to her classic series counterpart. But in Crystal, that doesn't show up at all. None of those characteristics are there. And in the arcade scene, they kind of replace it with some subtle character development. We find out she's never been to an arcade before, and it's kind of implied that she doesn't really have friends. And we can see on her face that her interactions with Ami is kind of affecting her on an emotional level. The character development for her is very subtle and nicely done. Though I don't know why they're needlessly changing her archetype, I guess I'll just have to see where they're taking her character in this series and see how much it really differs from the manga in the end. The rest of the changes are pretty minor ones. They started calling the villains Yoma, where in the manga they just refer to him as the enemy. Nephrite is physically at the party, possessing people, where in the manga it's just his shadow that is possessing people. Also the scene where the 4 Kings of Heaven line up, introduce themselves to the Sailor Senshi, that is also added. And the last big change in the episode is Usagi not getting drunk. While she's at the party, she picks up what she thinks is punch, it's not, and she gets tipsy and kind of passes out. And that's when Tuxedo Mask walks up and kisses her. I can see why they would change this, considering that's a little date rapey. So yeah, in the Crystal episode, she just falls asleep. And oddly enough, in the Crystal version, they did a really good job of building that up. There's a scene at the beginning where Luna calls out Usagi for staying up too late. And then there's another scene at the arcade where Luna says that Usagi fell asleep in class and that's why she had to stay late. Where in the manga it's just stated that she overslept, and that the reason that she stayed late for class is because she got a low score on her test. So kudos to Crystal for actually, building that up a bit. So what about the classic version of this episode? Well, of course we've had some filler, and we're now on episode... Shit, what episode are we on? 22?! There's been 11 episodes of goddamn filler between these 2 points. Okay, so we're apparently on episode 22. Now, there have been a shit ton of changes here. First off, any scenes that directly connect to the previous episode are not here, because obviously there's been a lot of episodes that have happened in between these 2 points. Also, where this was Nephrite's first outing in the manga, this is actually his 3rd to last appearance in the classic series. Jedi was killed off in between these 2 points in a filler episode, and up until this point we've had a running subplot of Nephrite kind of manipulating Usagi's friend Naru, which that subplot carries over into this episode. But beyond that, there really isn't too much that has been changed here. Besides the whole Naru subplot and a few removed scenes here and there, a lot of the manga elements stay intact, including the scene where Usagi gets drunk and, Tuxedo Mask makes out with an inebriated 14-year-old. So when you stack the three up, which one comes out on top? Honestly, this one's kind of tough to call. The horrible pacing issues that have been plaguing the manga up to this point really aren't present here. Crystal cutting out scenes that cause, weird little plot holes with Tuxedo Mask, also not present. And the classic series didn't really take anything from the manga and improve upon it. Credit where credit is due, the Naru Nephrite subplot is very well done here, but that is a story arc that is exclusive only to the series and really doesn't have that much bearing in this comparison. And because it's part of an overarching narrative, as a singular piece of entertainment, it doesn't stand on its own. But if I had to just pick one saying which one just did it slightly better than the other two, it would have to be Crystal. Though the manga didn't really have pacing issues, it is still kind of a compact story, and Crystal gives these scenes a little bit more room to breathe. Though I don't particularly like where they're taking Mars's character in this series, I know good subtle character development when I see it, and this episode had it for her. Also, it took the alcohol factor out of the kind of icky date rapey scene. And though there's nothing particularly wrong with how the classic series did this episode, the Crystal version the execution was just a bit better there. I like the Crystal version of an episode more for a change. You fuckers happy now? Though knowing my luck, I'll probably have a whole bunch of classic series fans telling me, no, but the classic series version was better. There's no pleasing any of you fuckers. So yeah, I will see you guys in 2 weeks when we finally get to Best Guardian, Sailor Jupiter, Makoto Kino. Till then, I'm Hail Zeon. Moon Prime, motherfuckers.